What the heck? And welcome back to another video, guys. My name is Jordan, and on today's video we're talking all things GoPro settings, just everything to do with how I set up my GoPro and what settings I use to take certain photos and videos. I am so sorry this video has been a long time coming. It has been one of the most requested videos and I am finally getting to it. Now, because I've used this camera for 5 years, I've just naturally, obviously, understood how the camera works and I know the settings I shoot with, and that's just how I do it. But for some people like yourself, maybe you've just picked up a GoPro for the first time and you're wondering, what the heck? All of these random buttons and settings, and you don't know really where to get started from. So that's what I'm gonna go through today, and I'm just gonna show you what settings I use and how I use them and for what sort of shots I use them for. The video's not gonna be that fun, but hopefully you learn some really helpful information that you can take into your GoPro life. So I have 3 GoPros sitting with me. I've literally had every GoPro since the 3 Plus. I'm currently sitting with the 7. So I don't have the 8. I'm staying with the 7. I've decided not to upgrade this time. But don't worry, for those who have a newer or older version of a GoPro, it's generally the same. The settings differ slightly, but for the most part, they're gonna be the same stock standard settings for all of them. Before we dive into the fascinating details of a GoPro, I just wanna let you know that I've made a PDF document that you can actually download. Link is in the bio, and it's gonna have all the information that I am going to talk about in this video. So if my voice gets a little bit annoying, which is totally understandable, you can just download that PDF and you can go from there. Apart from that, let's dive in. For those who don't know, GoPro is set up into 3 main settings. You have your video, you have your photo, and you have your time lapse. Alright, straight away with video, you can see that there are a multitude of settings you can choose from. The settings that I use to film are 2.7K resolution at 60 frames a second. Now this allows me to have hyper smooth stabilization on whilst getting a pretty high quality video at a rate that I can actually slow down or speed up. So if you decide to shoot at more than 30 frames a second, you can actually slow the video down. So I choose to generally shoot at 60, so I can always have the option to slow it down. While shooting at 2.7K resolution, this allows me to crop in a little bit if I need, along with keeping the hyper smooth stabilization on. If you're looking for a high quality video, you can always go to 4K 60, which is great, except the hyper smooth stabilization will not be a feature. This may change with future generations of GoPro, but for my 7 right here, it doesn't have that option. So that is why I decided to stick at 2.7. After you've sorted out the resolution and the frame rate, next up is the field of view. The field of view is just a fancy word of saying, how wide do you really want it? So a lot of the GoPro stuff I shoot is on a selfie stick, like this one. Actually, it is this one. And I love being a small subject in a large environment. And for me, I like it wide. And when I mean wide, I mean freaking super wide. In this quick setting, you've got linear, which is gonna be 0 fisheye, 0 bubble. You're gonna have wide, which is gonna capture a fair amount of the room. And you've got super wide, which is gonna be the super fisheye classic GoPro look. So I love shooting wide, that's what I shoot, but just know you can change those settings quite easily. And remember, linear looks like a normal camera, but it is quite cropped. Another reason I shoot at 2.7K resolution is because I love my image wide. So if you're gonna go 4K, the super wide option is not gonna be available and you're gonna have to shoot on the wide. I mean, it's not that big a difference, but for me, I personally love it as wide as I can get it. I keep the stabilization to auto, and with ProTune, here is the thing. ProTune is great if you know your way around the camera, but because we are beginners and this video I'm talking to beginners, I'm just gonna say leave it off. ProTune is basically just all the settings that you'd see on any other camera, because this camera obviously has them too. These are like the shutter, the ISO, the color profile, and the sharpness. Now, if you know your way around a camera, sure, dabble in them, but for us, we're not going to even bother. We're going to keep ProTune off because I would say for 85% of my footage that I shoot, ProTune is completely off. So, you know, once you get a bit more advanced, sure, you can dive into that side of the GoPro, but for now, straight on off, we don't need to worry about it. If you do want slow motion, you can go 120 or 240 frames a second, which is crazy slow, like really slow, like crazy really slow. But you're gonna have to compromise other settings. This might be resolution, and this will be the hyper stabilization may not be available. Just know this, whenever you change something on the GoPro, something else will probably be compromised. So you've always got to try and find the balance between the quality of image that you want, along with, you know, the special features like the stabilization or how wide you want the image. So you're always balancing between the two. As the technology gets better, these settings will be great and they won't be an issue in future generations. So watch out for that. In the video setting, there is also this option called looping, but another thing we just don't need to worry about for now. Alright, so let's switch on over to the photo mode. Now, obviously you're thinking photo mode, what does it do? Guess what, guys? It takes photos. What? I know, crazy. And in the photo mode, you have three options. You're gonna have photo, you're gonna have burst, and you're gonna have night mode. For me, I don't really shoot anything at night, so I am just gonna ignore the night mode. If you wanna dabble in it, there's definitely some tutorials online that you can learn about night mode and how to take awesome night photography with the GoPro. But for now, we're leaving that alone. And we're just gonna talk about photo mode and burst mode. Photo mode is pretty straightforward. It's just taking a photo. So you can choose, again, your field of view, wide, linear, whatever you want it to be, and you can have the option of RAW. Whenever you hear RAW, it just means better quality. So you can turn the RAW settings on and you can have a better quality photo, except it's gonna be harder to process and it's gonna take a bit more time. What I would suggest is don't even bother with RAW, guys. I rarely shoot RAW. Like I've dabbled with RAW on the GoPro, and to be honest, the RAW quality images is not that much better, in my opinion, than what you can get on a normal 12 megapixel photo. So I would just turn it off and leave it off. One of the benefits of a GoPro is that it can shoot a lot of photos really fast. You can actually shoot 30 photos in 1 second, which is awesome for capturing action moments. So with my field of view on wide, I keep ProTune off just like always, and I keep the burst rate between 30/1 to 30/3, depending on what I'm shooting. If you're shooting someone doing like a backflip, 30/1 because the moment's over like that. If you're shooting something that's fast, but not that fast, like someone running, you can always just change the setting to 30/2, 30/3, and those settings will be great as well. So that's literally all I use for in the photo mode is burst, and it is simply 30/1 pretty much most of the time. Now that we've gone through those two things, we are here in time-lapse mode. My favorite mode, because it's where I take my selfies, and we all know I love a good selfie, okay? Don't judge me for loving selfies, and don't judge me for thinking that this is the best invention that's happened in the last 20 years, because nothing beats a selfie stick selfie, okay? Just gonna put it out there, nothing beats it. Alright, once you get into time-lapse mode, you're gonna have a lot of options. The options are time warp video, time-lapse video, time-lapse photo, and night time-lapse. There's only two settings that I really use here. Let's start with time-lapse video. My mistake, time warp. Time warp, everyone, warp. Time-lapse video is that magical, hyper smooth sort of like cinematic video that you always see in GoPro edits, where the GoPro automatically makes a hyperlapse for you. It is a freaking awesome setting, and I think it's something that you should definitely look into. So I'll just quickly show you my settings here. Now for the video speed, you have 5 options. You have ×2, ×5, ×10, ×15, and ×30. The higher your time, the better the stabilization, but the longer it's gonna take to shoot. If you're doing ×30, it means that it's gonna take 1 second of footage every 30 seconds. And it's gonna compress 30 seconds, boom, into 1. If you're riding a bike or a car or you're on a boat and you want to set your GoPro up for a long period of time, put it on ×30, that is the best option. But if it is just a quick thing, I would put it on a lower setting like ×2 or ×10. And that's about it for time warp. So time-lapse photo is the setting that I actually spend the most of my time in. It is the setting that I take all of my selfies with. Every single selfie is in time-lapse photo mode. Again, GoPro is very simple, so this setting is no different. I keep it on a wide setting. I keep it at an interval of 0.5 seconds with ProTune turned off. So basically, whenever I'm taking the selfie, I've got the GoPro at the end of the selfie stick. I'm gonna click on the time lapse at 0.5 seconds, boom. So the trick here is to just hold out your arm and take a few different angles, because it's taking 2 photos a second for as long as you want. So I'm here, I want the angles up, to the side, to the side, to the back, around the front, Basically, you just keep shooting different angles until you like the one you like. The beauty about this is that it's taking 2 photos every second, so you can take like 50 to 100 photos and you can find the middle one that you like the best, and that can be the one that you decide to go with. It is always quality over quantity, except not really with the GoPro. I find that a GoPro is get as much as you can and hope for the best. With a GoPro, I always like to say, if you take a lot of quantity, you're gonna get some quality. Usually it's quality over quantity, but in this case, you need to take a lot of quantity in order to get some quality. So that's why you just shoot like crazy. And that is about it, guys. That is all the settings I use, and that is the basics to get started with all the settings that I use for these tiny little nifty cameras. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of GoPro videos over the next few weeks, so if you did find this video entertaining or interesting, or you learned something, then hit the subscribe button, because you're going to learn a lot more. This is just the basic video settings video. So you're going to learn a lot more cool, nifty little tricks if you decide to stick around and hang out. So that is it from me. I'll see you in the next one. What the heck? Goodbye.